So, yeah, my talk will be about habitat mapping, generally supporting restoration of the Great Barrier Reef. And then, I will use Pete's segue to my segue, because you guys did a great job to selling why we need habitat maps already, so I don't think I have to talk much. The work that I'm presenting is the work from a lot of people involved currently, and work done over the last few years in organizations, so they need to be acknowledged as well. As we know, coral habitats, they need certain factors that influence where they grow. That's light, temperature, water chemistry, wave action, and hard substrate, because coral like to grow on hard substrate. Massive and plate and branching coral you will find on these areas, but where these hard substrates are a different story. Because if you realize that 3,000 reefs of the GBR, the map that you see here is, some of you will recognize it as heron, but this is the most detailed map of the habitat of the Great Barrier Reef at this stage. So, what does it mean? Well, this map is used, as several of you presented already, for all kinds of purposes, like looking at connectivity, intervention, resilience management, and again, several people before me has talked about it. If you would use this map to decide on where to place restoration sites, then this could be the sites, but are they good? Because you actually don't know where it is. If you then use the satellite images, and these days there are images from Landsat, Sentinel, and Planet available that cover the full extent of the Great Barrier Reef. Some at 30 meter pixels, other at 3 meter pixels or 4 meter pixels. And some captured every 16 days, some captured every day. Currently with Planet, every day, every single reef on the Great Barrier Reef is imaged. Again, you can get some more information out of this image and see, well, I could place my restoration sites here. However, that's only a qualitative assessment. You really don't know, you can't do it quantitative just based on looking at an image. If you compare this to the state of Queensland, which is a bit bigger as the Great Barrier Reef, as you can see, on a monthly basis, land use, land cover maps are made for the whole state of Queensland. There is no equivalent yet for the Great Barrier Reef. So the aim of our project has been to develop an approach that is applicable to the 3,000 reefs of the Great Barrier Reef, to look at geomorphic zonation and benthic composition. We, of course, done heaps of work on heron over the last 20 years almost, but we're fortunate to, in 2016, to focus on the whole Capricorn Bunker group, and 2017 to focus on the 237 reefs of the Great Barrier Reef around Cairns. And we are hoping to finally pull this out to do the whole Great Barrier Reef. Now, it's important to look at the different scales of what we're looking at. You could basically say that at this stage, reef system maps are there based on that tell you where the reefs are. And here an example of the Great Barrier of the Capricorn Bunker group reefs. We don't know the reef types, so we don't know which are fringing reefs, barrier reefs, or lagoonal reefs, roughly, to a certain extent. We don't know within each of those reefs on the Great Barrier Reef how much reef slope there is, how much reef crest there is, how much reef flat, outer, inner, or lagoon is. And we don't know for each of these 3,000 reefs how much dominated is by sand, algae, or coral. We do know that with satellite imagery we have approaches these days that we can use the information of this imagery to create maps of the reef types, of the geomorphic zonation, and the benthic community. Most of that work is developed on heron, where we, on an annual basis, visited heron and collected heaps of field data, which gave us the opportunity to get a good understanding how a reef is, and basically, like I said many times, to smell the reef and to understand the reef. In that process, one of the things we keep on using is photos. Photos are really important because these photos we can go back to. And that's shown in this project specifically because just recently we were exposed to coral net where we can use the photos to reanalyze over all the 20 years. And the photos are all georeferenced, so every time we look at it, we know where the data is taken off, and they have a time span. And they can be collected by divers, snorkels, or other. So here, 20 years of satellite imagery, or 18 years, and field data on top of it. All these photos, 3,000 per year, were being analyzed with CoralNet, and basically, by doing that, they're all analyzed on the same way, which gives us a very consistent data set. Now, the next thing which is important is that all those photos are online, and all the analysis will be online. So via Pangea, so that anybody can download those data sets and do whatever they want with it. And with those detailed photos, we can make a nice satellite image of the reef. But we can't do it for every of the 3,000 reefs. That would be way too much work, even though I like to go to all those reefs. So we have to have some thoughts, and our experience learned us that we have to look at the geomorphology of the reef, the benthic composition, the impacts that impact the reef, but also look at the relationship between wave height and coral types. All that kind of information we can use, and we used in this project to map the reef. So with satellite imagery, you now can get reliable water depth data, and using the water depth and wind data, we can predict wave heights. And wave heights help us to get an idea of coral types. So where previously years, it's a bit off center I noticed, previously we focused on satellite data and field data only to map reefs. We now say, okay, let's put all the things, but let's put physical attributes in there as well to help us understand how to map coral reefs and to map them. Not only one, but heaps of them. So we use an object-based approach. We not look at one pixel, but we look at group of pixels which have similar texture and color. And we can set rule sets up, because for instance the reef crest, we know that it's the highest point on the reef. We know it's hard substrate. We know it's probably on a high impact area, so lots of waves. We know it's horizontal, or mainly horizontal. So all that kind of information we use in our rule set to get these geomorphic maps. Similarly, we did that to create these coral reef, coral algae rubble maps. Using Landsat imagery as a basis, so 30 meters pen sharpened up to 15 meters pixel. The relationship between wave height, depth, the geomorphic zone, Juan, Carlos, Ortiz created a model which we then applied spatially to the reef for coral type. Well, it's nice to do it for one reef, but we want to do it for the whole reef. And that's what we did. We looked at the Capricorn bunker group and we made geomorphic maps for each of these 20 reefs. We did bottom type and coral type for all those reefs. That's nice for doing it for 20 reefs, but 20 reefs is still not getting close to 3,000 reefs. So we went off and collected some more data in the same project Pete was talking about and Donna was talking about in the resilient reef around the Cairns to Cooktown area. We went to 23 reefs and collected all kinds of field data. We also used drone surveys and impact surveys from Eye on the Reef program and Coral Watch surveys as well to get a full data set together. We did it for 23 reefs. Using the Kalinda, and yes, also one of the Swiss research vessels, probably the only one that helped also out with collecting this data, which was an enormous effort. But on top of that, for the northern part, we went with a couple of team members went on the GBR legacy to collect even more data for that area as well, with the hope that we will be mapping that area as well. Now with that field data, we zoomed in on little areas on those 237 reefs, and we developed a rule set for that little area. and then say, let's look at another little area as well and see how we can adjust it. So we adjusted for that other area and came up to a better rule set that worked for both. And we did it for a third area using the field data or ecological, geomorphological knowledge to create those rule sets. And then we said, okay, that's nice, but we can't keep going. So now let's apply it on a reef by reef basis, the rules that we created for those 3 areas. And that resulted in a geomorphic map for those reefs, but actually not only a geomorphic map of those reefs, but also a bottom type map and a coral type map, following those same kind of rules which we did for heron at the start, for all those 237 reefs. This is the highest level of detail for these reefs ever presented at this stage. To be honest, for any reef on Earth at such a large area. So, going back to the old existing map, if you use the old existing map or the still map used, then this is what you have, your highest level of detail. You would place your, maybe you decide your restoration site based on that, but if you then look at the same areas on the satellite image, you think, oh, that's not completely the right sites. If you then look at the maps that we create and look at only the reef area above 10 meters, then we already get a better understanding where to place them or where not. If we would look at the areas that are hard substrate, predominantly hard substrate, then we can even better define where to place those restoration sites. Now, I was thinking all the time of hard substrate, but today I was also confronted with the fact that a lot of the coral gardens, the gardening is happening actually in the sandy areas, and these same maps can be used to develop those areas. So this mapping approach is not only done by me on my own, no, it's a teamwork. Lots of different people have been working on this together to get it to the stage it is now. And we did 257 reefs, and there's a heaps of reefs left to go. The way we would like to do that is using sentinel imagery, because it is higher resolution imagery covering a larger area, and we are able to pick up bleaching to a certain extent as well. However, with Sentinel you can also look at the change over time, as John Hadley has shown, where for one area on the reef, he can see that reef started to bleach based on the changes in reflectance value. If you would zoom in on the area where most of the coral is, then you can get a better story where a reef is impacted. But what you not see so well is that currently there's a planet satellite. There's 200 satellites going around the Earth's surface. They're capturing imagery of the reef on a daily basis. And using that kind of data, we can even better get that information. So, summarizing my talk, we basically said that well, the Great Barrier Reef is a great asset, we need to take care of it, and lots of restoration could be used for it, but we need better data to know where the reef actually is. As this will improve resilience, management, monitoring. We mapped the whole heaps of reefs, but we want to map the whole reef, and we should map the whole reef. Now, these methods on its own have shaken up some people on the other side of the ocean, and we basically got now invited to map all the reefs in the world using the same approach. And we just started working on this project, and over a 2 to 3 year period, we hope to address that as well. I'd like to thank the Great Barrier Reef Foundation and Vulcan for funding most of this work. Thank you.